Yo, still build what's the dizzle, man. I'm fresh off the clockage. Taking my afro to go pick up my baby from school and heading to the crib to kick my feet up before I go to the gym, man. But Pete game, I want to talk about something I came across, and that is Moses Itama turning down the Frankie Sanchez fight for well, I forget what belt it is. It's an eliminator for one of Usyk's belts, and I'm like this. Why would you turn that down? You dig? I get it. You're still early on in your career. Now, actually, I don't get it because the thing is this. You just last year, the year before, was talking about how you wanted to beat Mike Tyson's record for being the youngest heavyweight champion in history. Then you think that is, you see that is, just for you to turn around and turn down a fight with Frankie Sanchez. How do you go from that energy to now all of a sudden you want to turn down a fight with Frankie Sanchez? I don't get that, man. I think that's ass backwards. Because I think you are the heir, you're the heir apparent to the throne at the heavyweight division. I think you are going to be the HNIC in that division. I honestly do. And I just think that as much as you want to fight Jermaine Franklin, I'm not mad at that fight. You said you could get good rounds in with him. I'm not mad at that. What I am mad at is you turning down a fight with Frankie Sanchez, because I think there's a far more benefit to you fighting somebody like a Frankie Sanchez than a Jermaine Franklin. I just do. I think with Franklin, it's like you're better than him, but he's gonna be tough and durable enough to where, and skilled enough to make you work and dig deep in order to win the exchanges. You got to get a little bit more creative in your offensive output or whatever. He's going to force you to counter the counter or be wary of the counter so you can defend it. I get all of that. I get all that. But from what it is that you did to Dillian White, yeah, it was a much more pass to Dillian White. But there's no justification for you even looking to fighting a Jermaine Franklin right now, considering that he just lost, as opposed to fighting a Frank Sanchez. You got to think who Frank has been in there with, man. He's been in there with, F.A. Jog, but he's been in there with, I'm having a brain freeze. What's this nigga name? G. Caballero. He's been in there with some factors, man. It's a few more people that he's been in there with, but, it's not coming to mind. But he's been in there with F.A. He's been in there with, Caballero. So if you're able to go in there and eviscerate this dude, I ain't saying you got to do him how Caballero did him, but if you're able to go in there and dominate this dude, that tells me that you're unquestionably ready for the big stage, for the world stage, because everybody feels that you are. And it's far more beneficial in fighting somebody like a Frankie Sanchez, who's actually been in there with some factors in the division, than fighting a Jermaine Franklin, man. I don't like, I don't like this energy, man. I don't like this energy. I think it's too early for you to be turning down phase with certain individuals, because you're better than these dudes. You're better than Frank Sanchez. You're better than him. You're faster on your feet than he is. You're better than him. There's no reason why you shouldn't be turning that down. At the very least, go in there, run that with him. Step on him, and if you don't, because I don't think you ready for no Usyk yet, neither, dog. I don't think you ready for Usyk just yet. I don't think you beat Caballero just yet. But you go in there, you get rid of someone like a Frank Sanchez, and all right, cool. I'm gonna take a step back. I see nothing wrong with that. Let me develop a little bit more. You know how motherfucker, you venture off, I don't know how to swim, but I'm just saying, you venture off to, just, you dig deep, you got your little swimming, you found your fundamentals down or whatever, man. So you venture off slightly into the deeper end, like you get deeper and deeper and deeper, but you'll get, like, let's say you start off in the 3 feet, you swim over there into the 4 feet, maybe 4.5, and then you swim back to the 3 foot to get your, your fundamentals a lot more sound. You get you get a stronger base for your swimming fundamentals, and then you go from the 3 feet to the 5 feet. Then you go to 5.5, and then you swim back to the 4 foot, and you know what I'm saying. You get your stronger fundamentals in swimming. You dig? You do. I would. That's the more logical thing to do. You dig? but you're too. You I get it. We still want people to develop. You don't want to throw these dudes out there to, before they're ready to compete for a title. And I'm not saying go for the title, but what I am saying is go fight competition that's going to better prepare you for that, because you're right on the precipice of being a world-class fighter. There's no reason why you should be turning down to Frank Sanchez, dog. There's no reason for it. Even though I think Frank Sanchez is a good fighter. I do. I think he's a good fighter. And I think that's a good litmus test for you. I think that's a good fight for you that you should go up there and you should have. But I think it's just ass backwards for you to, like, who you gonna fight now? Who are you gonna fight? I don't want to see you go out like that, man. I think you're too talented for that, man. Frank Sanchez is a damn good opponent for you to get in there and run that with. That's a damn good opponent for you to get in there and run that with, to really see where you're at as far as on the world stage is concerned. Go up there and get that drama with him. Make that happen. Please make that happen, man. Revisit this, because it's literally a waste of time for you to go and run that with out on Jermaine Franklin, bro. You got to think about it like this. Motherfucking Richard Torres fought Guido, how you put it, the Italian dude. He fought him, and he arguably beat F.A. Ajagba. He arguably beat that dude. You can say that he beat him. I personally think that I gotta go and watch the fight again, man. But on my initial watch, I was like, yo, he beat F.A. He beat F.A. So why not go and run that with somebody who's been in it? Like, bro, come on, man. You can't lie. Granted, do I think, as far as a career is concerned, Dillian Whyte is a far better scout than someone like a Vito Gualtieri. Definitely. I won't argue that. I won't argue that at all. But that wasn't the Dillian Whyte that was at the peak of his powers. I was like, Dillian Whyte is about to go in here and get euthanized. I never thought that was going to be a competitive bout. I never thought it was. So in the grand scheme, it looks better on paper. Yeah, he beat Dillian Whyte. And you look, just went, as we get older, for those who may not have been around to see Dillian Whyte's career, when you click on that Wikipedia link to Dillian Whyte and his resume, and you see all the fighters that he's been in with, win, lose, or draw, his name is going to look better on paper than a Guido Gualtieri. No one is going to deny that. But you also are going to notice that Dillian Whyte was not at the peak of his powers. He was not at the peak of his powers, not even remotely close. It's almost safe to say that Dempsey McKeown is a more credible scout than Dillian Whyte. At the time that they fought, it's almost safe to say that. I'm saying, man, don't hustle backwards, man. Don't hustle backwards. Frank Sanchez is a good game opponent for you. That's a damn good litmus test for you. That's the direction that you need to be going in. Because if Torres can fight Vito, you can fight Frank Sanchez. Because Vito and Frank have a common opponent in F.A. Ajagba. Frank beat F.A. Vito, or I keep calling him Vito. Guido arguably beat him. I personally think he beat him. So I'm just saying, man, don't be that guy. Don't let motherfuckers tell you. Nah, man. Sometimes I get it. I get it. People want to be really protective of the golden goose. I understand it. I honestly do. But bro, don't make a habit of that. You gotta also realize when you're that much ahead of the pack than everybody else. And at this point in time, you looking to be ahead of the pack as far as the heavyweight division is concerned. The only close second I personally see is possibly Justice Hooney. Despite the that knockout loss that he suffered at the hands of Fabio Wardley, that was a late replacement, and Fabio Wardley landed a beautiful right hand in the middle of an exchange. It happens in the sport of boxing. You could have gave him leniency, gave him a longer count, not counting him out as quick. You could have did all that. But you could have protected yourself better. I get it, I understand it, man. But that dude was getting dominated up until that fight. Up until that exchange. So I don't think we should sit there and just, say because because Fabio did what he did to him, then nah. Shit happens in the sport of boxing. People, niggas get knocked out every day, B. So I'm not about to castigate him for that knockout loss. I'm not gonna do that. But I do think he would probably be a second when this crop of heavyweights retires, when Usyk, when Fury, Wilder, Ruiz, Joshua, when all these cats retire, I think the top two dogs is gonna be Hooney and Talma. I honestly do. So I'll say all that to say this: you are already showing that you have a higher ceiling than most of these dudes. So don't hinder your growth because you don't want to get stagnant neither. You don't want to get too used to fighting competition on on a level on a what's the word a bring along competition to where it starts to dull your skill set, man. I think that's what hindered Jared Anderson. You don't want to get used and accustomed to fighting a certain caliber of opponent at a certain time in their career. Jared Anderson was feasting on cruiserweights, and look what that got him. He developed bad habits like pulling back. And the minute he got in there with a former champion in Charles Martin, we saw, that is a glaring flaw, and that's not going to last long. And what ended up happening? So don't allow these these promoters to get you stagnant, man. Go and revisit that fight with that title eliminator with Frankie Sanchez, man, and prove that you are ahead of the curve as far as the rest of the heavyweights go, man. That's all I got to say about it. So I'll get with y'all later. Those are